Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We're streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So comment, like, subscribe, or share. What a week it was for the NFL. Week 2 is in the books. And it was a hell of a weekend again for the boys of fall. A huge win for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. His first win against his kryptonite, the Kansas City Chiefs. Thank you, Clyde Edward-Helaire, by the way, for that. But that was an incredible game. Those two will be around for quite some time. Lamar Jackson doing what Lamar Jackson does best. He is, I don't care what anybody says. He's incredible. I'm going to defend him. I hope that he can finally get over the hump in the playoffs, but he's an incredible, incredible talent. And then the Packers last night, somehow, well, their defense has still question marks. Yes, Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones delivered in typical fashion, beating up on the Detroit Lions. But there was more to it than just those couple games. We have a couple of surprising 2-0 teams right now. And the three teams that I want to talk about, well, all three of them are in divisions that we all projected them to maybe finish last place. I know Joe had one of them actually in the playoffs. And
yeah, he's looking good.
Three teams that we're about to talk about. One's in the NFC West, one's in the AFC West, and one's in the NFC South. All divisions that have Super Bowl caliber teams. I'm not talking just playoff teams. Yes, the NFC West and AFC West has a playoff teams, and maybe even the NFC South. But there is three teams in that division in each of that division that are Super Bowl viable contenders. You got the Bucs in the NFC South. You got the Chiefs in the AFC West, and then you got the Rams in the NFC West. But I want to talk about not just those because we always talk about that. Everybody else, what else is new? There's a reason why those teams are at the top of the food chain because they deliver. I know the Chiefs didn't win this week, but they were looking like they were on the verge of going 2-0.
They blew that game.
Into surprises. We always talk about surprises and the unexpected teams. There's always that every year. We're like, whoa, we didn't expect this to happen. We expected them maybe to go 1-1, maybe 0-2, but to go 2-0. And all three teams, the way they've been able to do it is probably the more shocking factor of why these teams are 2-0. So the question we're going to start off with today is the most surprising 2-0 team. Is it the Arizona Cardinals, led by maybe, other than Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, the most flashiest and exciting player in all of the NFL? Or is it the Las Vegas Raiders, beating two viable playoff contender teams in the AFC North, and the way they did it on Sunday too? Or is it Joe's team, the surprise team that we both kind of bashed them? I know there's still 15 weeks left, but they are off to a very, very hot start, beating a good Saints team that we all thought in week 1, whoa, looks like the Saints are not going anywhere. And then Jameis came back to life. And the Carolina Panthers, they're all doing it in different ways. Panthers winning by defense. Their defense is what we thought was going to be one of the weak spots. Oh, they've been panning out. Sam Darnold, well, guess what? That's what happens when you get some weapons around a quarterback like Sam Darnold who has the talent. The Cardinals, they're doing it offensively and their defense. And then the Raiders, Derek Carr, man. I love Derek Carr. I think he gets too much disrespect, but that man delivered again in a much-needed victory for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'll start with Ted. Coming into week 2, well, now we're about to be in the week 3. Your most surprising 2-0 team out of these three teams?
I think you guys first say the Raiders. I think because when you looked at that division, all the other teams, I told you I had the Broncos going to the playoffs. You knew what you had in the Chargers, and obviously you know what you have in the Chiefs. The Raiders, you have question marks. I think you always have question marks with the Raiders. With Gruden and Mayock running the show, who's running the show? They had gotten rid of multiple offensive linemen in the offseason. They traded away. So you're like, wait, they had a good offensive line. Why are you trading away Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen? Is that going to hurt the running game and Josh Jacobs? Is that going to hurt Derek Carr? No, all Derek Carr has thrown for 380 yards plus in both games and multiple touchdowns. Only done 4 times in NFL history. Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and himself. Right? Yep. Brady in 11, Fitzpatrick in 18, and Bledsoe in 94. So Derek Carr looks like the man, and that's good to see. And yeah, I would like to see John Gruden give him more respect, and in doing so, maybe sign him for a contract because, hey, listen, if he does become a free agent, a lot of teams should go grab him because he's really uplifted his team, and you could see it. They did it without their number one running back in Josh Jacobs this week, but Kenyon Drake really filled the role. Henry Ruggs is starting to give them that deep weapon. And listen, we know, Trev, you said it when we were talking about offensive talented players. Darren Waller is a beast up the middle. He's Kelsey. I mean, and he's one of those two guys are just matchup nightmares. I mean, listen, if you watch the Sunday night game, Kelsey's catch and run, it's incredible. I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, he might go down as the best tight end of all time. I know people say Gronk, but I just think Kelsey's on a whole nother level. Still got a lot of years left. But the Raiders, you listen, you beat Baltimore and you beat the Steelers. Both teams, you have aspirations of being Super Bowl type teams. Baltimore game, listen, the way they won you beat down, you come back. With all the turmoil, you think you throw the pick. I mean, yeah, you could blame it on Lamar fumbling the ball, but they came back, they fight. And then the dominance against the Steelers. Listen, that defensive line, Max Crosby, and that defensive line has been really good. And the offense has been above average. And listen, they started 2-0 last year too. There's still a lot of games left. But for me right now, listen, the Cardinals, they're talented, Trev. We talked about this, Joe. We've talked about that. They got weapons. They're no slouches. I mean, they got J.J. Watt. They got Buda Baker. They got Chandler Jones. So they got studs on defense. They have Kyler Murray, who might be the most exciting player in the NFL. I'm sorry, but some people say Lamar. Kyler Murray might be even more exciting because what he can do with his arm. His talent, ability to throw the ball is so much better, I think, than Lamar's. And because of his size and stature, it just gives him that incredible look. DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Brown, Rondell Moore. So I'm not surprised by them, and for me, it's something about living up to expectations, because you want to see them do that. And then the Panthers, I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, but they beat the Jets in week 1. So I'd like to see a little bit more because I look at the Jets as being one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the NFL draft next season. But with this question, I will stick with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Joe?
I'm going to obviously talk about my Panthers right now. And I'm not even going to talk about the offense right now, but the defense. J.C. Horn had his first career interception. Hassan Reddick had a sack and a half. They had 11 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, 3 passes defended, 2 interceptions. Defense is really good. Obviously, look, Sam Darnold is he did have a fumble. He recovered it himself. 305 yards, had an interception, did throw a couple of touchdowns. And like you said at the top, he's got weapons around him. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm not like the Swami. I mean, everybody was like, hey, McCaffrey's going to come back 2,000 yards. Who knows what he could do in a 17-game season? Well, if Christian McCaffrey, and obviously he's off to an amazing start, is going to have a big year, how could this team not have a big year? DJ Moore, 8 catches and a touchdown. He looks great. I mean, I think Carolina, I'm not saying they're going to go like 15-2 here, but I think this is definitely a playoff team. I thought so from the start. And I really do. I think they're in a great position. And I like this team. I think as long as McCaffrey's healthy and Darnold doesn't do stupid stuff, and I just think being in the right position in the right team, I think this is going to really work out. As for the Cardinals, another team I've been very high on. Kyler Murray is this enigma. He throws the ball weird. You compared him to Lamar Jackson. I don't know, there's something not quite there for me.
No, because he's a baseball player. He's like a shortstop, throwing across his body, like you catch the double play, throwing that one he had to Rondell Moore for the long touchdown, to be able to spin out, roll, throw across his body on point, still have the velocity, accuracy, and then of course his size and stature, makes him an incredible, like you said, enigma for what you don't expect to see on the day ever in the NFL.
This is like Doug Flutie on steroids for anybody who lived through the 80s. Again, and here's the funny thing. He only hit DeAndre Hopkins for 4 times. It was Rondell Moore and Max Williams, 7 catches each. So It's got pretty good demand. Got A.J. Green in on the action as well. I like the Cardinals. I think they're off to a hot start. I think their defense is going to get better. I think they're going to start playing better. And I think that's going to spell bad news for the West.
Well,
as for the Raiders, you'll recall last year I was pretty high on the Raiders, the only team that kept giving it to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by this. Derek Carr is
underrated,
starting to come into his own. You know, they've stuck with this guy for a long time. You started to see it last year. They're a healthier team. I mean, again, he played without Josh Jacobs and still able to come out with a victory. Got to like the Raiders. That team's got moxie for the first time since they were in Los Angeles, because they didn't have it the last time through in Oakland. It wasn't the same Oakland Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders, I think they've got that old LA edge back.
And that's the thing, though. All these three teams could have been all viable options to finish dead last in their division right now. And the Cardinals have delivered. I'm looking at some of the stats right now. All these teams are in, whether it's in the defensive side of the game or it's on the offensive side. The Vegas Raiders and the Cardinals are 1-2 in offensive leaders, total yards. The Vegas Raiders are first in passing with 391. And then the Cardinals are at 325. And then the Panthers right now, they're giving up under 200 yards right now of offense. 199, and they lead the league in sacks.
Trev, do you remember the stat I gave you yesterday about the Panthers since Matt Rule took over? Do you remember what I told you? It was something that we heard. It was something impressive, though, Joe, about Matt Rule and the Panthers since he's taken over. And just I forget what it was, but it was performance-wise, you can see that he has done a better job. That, you know, you look at young coaches in the league and new coaches, and he's done a phenomenal job drafting. I mean, Trev, you've talked about guys from Jeremy Chin, the safety, Derek Brown, Joe, who was, I mean, just they've hit on.
They drafted J.C. Horn, who's going to be a shutdown corner for this team.
Brian Burns, another outside pass rusher.
I picked him to be defensive rookie of the year. Good for Sam Darnold. I think this is more about seeing Sam Darnold finally get some weapons. I mean, DJ Moore has emerged as one of the number one receivers. I mean, he's their number one receiver now. I know Robbie Anderson's a home run threat type guy. And then you got the best running back in football with Christian McCaffrey. You're finally getting to see Sam Darnold put it all together. I know the offensive line is still have questions, but with that defense, if that defense can continue to play that way, the Panthers will be in the games for the rest of the season. They might not win all of them, but they will be competitive for 60 minutes. And that, as a Panthers fan, that's promising. That's encouraging to see. And with the weapons they have offensively, they could stay in any game. This team, now you're finally seeing it all put together. And it's good. It's good for Sam Darnold. I know Jet fans are probably like, oh, damn, why couldn't we do this? Why couldn't we help this kid with weapons? And now you're finally seeing him put it all together. And good for the Carolina Panthers. They took a chance with Sam Darnold. Who knows if they're still going to give him that big long-term extension because it's coming up. So if he delivers the way it is, we're going to be talking about Sam Darnold with a nice fat contract coming up soon.
You want to talk about domination. So both teams had 12 drives in the game. New Orleans and Carolina. New Orleans had 6 first downs to 28 by Carolina. They kept them to 2 for 11 on third down. They ran 43 total plays in those 12 drives. The Panthers ran 73 plays.
Yeah, Winston was awful. He was awful.
But that's what happens when you get a good defense and you can pressure the quarterback. It's not going to be a fun day at the office.
Listen, I said last week after the 5 touchdowns, let's tap the brakes on Jameis. Couldn't get Kamara into that game at all. They had a time of possession of 21-28. Compared to Darnold and company, 38-32, just feeding the ball, getting the ball to McCaffrey any way they can. You load the box, he starts throwing outside. Telling you, this Panthers team, it's a lot better than I think it's better than what people think it is right now. I think anybody that's surprised they're 2-0, you watch those games, boy, they're just, I mean, they're really playing well.
That's what I'm saying. If they can continue to play with that defense, that pass rush, and they stay competitive, that's encouraging. That's an encouraging sign for this team going forward. And with the way Sam Darnold's been playing, with the weapons, if they all stay healthy, this is a dangerous team that, yes, very young, is only going to get better as the season progresses. And then the Raiders, I mean, I got to say the Raiders just because look who you beat. You beat a Baltimore Ravens team. I know they're decimated with injuries, but still Baltimore has been one of the consistent powers of the AFC for the past, almost, I would say, 20 years since I've been watching football. They've been consistent. And to see them with the way they won on Monday night, one of the crazier endings to a Monday night game, still found a way to win. And then going into Heinz Field, short week, a West Coast team going to the East Coast, 1 o'clock game, and finding a way to win. And the way they delivered, Derek Carr would probably the prettiest throw in this week of the NFL to Henry Ruggs for a touchdown. That was just remarkable. An incredible win for the Raiders. And to see them 2-0 right now, good for them. They have a tough matchup this week against the Dolphins. I know the Dolphins are coming off of a slaughter beatdown by the Bills, but still, this Raiders team, all these teams have strong weapons. They have strong pros. They have some cons, but the pros are out gaining, or you should say out showing the negatives. And that's why they're both that's why all three teams are 2-0 right now, because the positives are or going over the negatives.
Now,
so good for the Raiders, good for the Cardinals, and good for the Panthers.
Sure. Do you know who the Cardinals play this week? The only reason I'm asking you is because I saw the Panthers play Thursday Night Football. They're playing the Texans. Very winnable game. They could be 3-0.
The Cardinals should be 3-0.
Okay, so all three teams, and then the Raiders have the toughest game. They're home this week against Miami, which is a really big matchup. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Eventually I think we'll talk about it down the road, but I think Miami, Joe, is going to have an issue with Tua. And I told Trev yesterday on the car ride home, I can't believe the world we live in the NFL now, where like 2-3 years ago, Tua was supposed to be the next big thing, number one pick. He fell to the Dolphins at 6, and now he played 9 games last year, and after 11 games,
no, he was number 5.
Not that he's a bust.
He was number 5,
but not that he's a bust. But he might just not pan out and might end up one of those guys where he's a backup quarterback or one of those journeymen. Because I think Miami's worried about him now. I mean, injuries from college, arm strength isn't there. He's not big in stature. You know, he doesn't do anything impressive. I know we'll talk about that down the road with the Dolphins, but that's a big matchup, Miami and Vegas this Sunday, which, you know, who knows? Down the road, you might look at that game and go, that's a playoff caliber game that was deciding of which team got in or not.
Let's have before we close out the show, our takeaways from week 2. If you guys can chime in, say how you feel after what you saw for this weekend. What do we think so far?
I'll give you a big one. Alvin Kamara had 12 touches for 30 yards. If Jameis Winston, and I said this about Taysom Hill last year when he filled in, if you can't get the ball to Alvin Kamara, this offense is going to look bad. And that was another prime example.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's on Sean Payton too. I mean, just develop plays. I mean, find ways to get him the ball. I just looked at the stat. Chris McCaffrey here, he has 10 catches and is 10th in the league in reception. He's got, so he's got 324 yards of total scrimmage yards. He leads the league right now. Derrick Henry's second. He's phenomenal. But find ways. Listen, if you want playmakers to get the ball, you develop plays for your guys. You find ways to get guys open. Just like when teams double team Kelsey or Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid sets up formations and motions and schemes so that you can find ways to get playmakers the ball. So I put that on Sean Payton, but also, hey, listen, Sean Payton could be like, hey, listen, throw the ball at Kamara on this one. This plays for him.
My takeaway so far is that I believe every team has some sort of, let's say not weakness, but something to keep an eye on. I think the Chiefs' defense is very vulnerable right now. We've seen for the first 2 weeks. I mean, their offense is gonna light it up. We know what their offense brings to the table, but we've always said that their defense was always a question mark, and it's already showing so far. I think the Buccaneers are the same way. I mean, this is not the same defense. I know they brought back everybody, but they're giving up 27 points a game in 2 games. Give up 29 to the Cowboys, 25 this week, and then their offense. Those teams, their offense is going to do their thing. It's always the negatives for me. I know that we're talking about the negatives when they're both 1 and But to me, to see like even the Seattle Seahawks, all these teams that we've talked highly about, the Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, there's still a lot of question marks going in. I know it's only 2 weeks, but to see the question marks, they're already starting to show. And I really think that for the Chiefs specifically, that showed on Sunday night because let's be honest, that Ravens team is not 100%. They're far from it, actually. And Lamar was the best player in that field. And the Chiefs had no answer with the exception of his first couple drives where he threw 2 picks. Lamar Jackson was the best player in that field. And the Chiefs had no answer for him.
I've been very concerned about the Chiefs since week 15 of last season. And I thought, struggled their way through the playoffs until they got bombed in the Super Bowl by Tom Brady and company.
Mm-hmm.
They've been through a lot of adversity. They've played a lot of extra games the past couple of seasons. The injuries have been mounting. Again, it's a team where I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to assume they're just going to be automatic because of how good they were last year, but it doesn't necessarily work that way. And I think we're seeing that all around the league. Again, I don't think Green Bay is going to be as good as everybody thinks they're going to be.
No, because that defense is not a good defense.
They're going to lose at least 6 games this year, I would have to bet. I'll give you another big takeaway, and I would never watch a New York Jets game, but my man Mac Jones, who is the best quarterback from this draft, it is not even close. If you watch the way this guy plays on the field, it is not even close. The difference between him, he's not the most talented guy, Teddy. He looks like he belongs. He looks like he's been in the NFL for 10 years.
But guess what? Here's the thing. You got to take into consideration the personnel around him, the coaches, the players, the scheme. He's not asked to do anything more than what he has to. If you watch the game, it's really easy throws at the beginning of the game, swing passes, short passes, get a rhythm, get a feel for the game, and then as the game goes on, we extend the ball, we run more play action, we get the ball. If you watch Zach Wilson, you watch the Jets, everything they ask him to do is hit a home run on every pitch. Get him a rhythm in the game. Get it. So you don't have the weapons and the schematics. Let's run the ball. Let's play action. Everything he tries to do is a home run. Even Trevor Lawrence. I think they put too much burden on the rookies. I think if you had Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson and you put them with the New England Patriots, I think you would see the same type of player that you see in Mac Jones with a little bit more flair to them. That's all I'm saying is look at the Jets and the Panthers situation, right? Darnold, right? It's not like miraculously he became a better quarterback. You look at the team, Joe Brady, the schematics, the personnel around him. I look at where Mac Jones is. Look at all the teams where the rookie's at. Take Trey Lance out of consideration. Trevor Lawrence doesn't have the personnel I think New England has. I look at Fields really doesn't. They ask him to do too much. You know, I agree with he's done what he's needed to do. But I don't think New England asked him to do. It's like if you remember Brady at the beginning of the year, they never asked Brady to do too much. Remember? It was don't make any mistakes. Let's run the football. Let's make that 3 or 4 big throws during the game. Not let's cost our team, you know, and we'll find a way to win through defense, special teams, and coaching. And I think, you know, you look at other coaches and they put these guys like Trevor Lawrence and like if you listen to Trevor Lawrence's press conference, like, Trev, did you hear what he had said? He said it's not a lack of talent on this team. So if it's not a lack of talent, what is that saying, Joe, to you in your head? It's coaching. It's Urban Meyer. It's the offensive schematics. It's asking him or the team to do something that they can't do right now. You know, and that's personally what I'm seeing and I hear. You know, and you see this all the time. They put these rookies in and they're asking them to like throw the ball 40 times, throw the ball 40 times, and stretch the field. It's like, watch Mac Jones's throw. If you look up his throws, they're all within 10 yards.
Well, the problem is
they're all short, easy throws where he gets into a rhythm in the game, and it makes him feel comfortable so that down the road in third and fourth quarter, when we ask him to make that 3rd and 7 throw, he's loose. He's ready to go. He feels much more comfortable, and it's a play where he can, complete.
The reason why you get all these quarterbacks, these rookie quarterbacks, I just keep saying why they get all this big burden is because it's just a trend that's been. It's the trend that's going right now.
We're also going to bad teams.
With the way that rookie quarterbacks have been coming in and performing better than expectations, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, coming in, guys like that, even Kyler Murray, just a few guys that we can name, Patrick Mahomes, we always say Patrick Mahomes, but to see guys like that come in, and this is why rookie quarterbacks are so important, or just to find a quarterback, because of the way the NFL is moving so fast now with quarterbacks. You're seeing that these quarterbacks like Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, we can't say anything about Trey Lance yet because we really haven't seen enough, but Mac Jones is in the perfect situation. These guys like Lawrence and Wilson and Fields, it's going to take them time to get it going and to figure out the NFL, because it's the NFL. It's a whole different ball game. And Jets head coach Robert Saleh came out and said it's okay to be boring. I feel like with Zach Wilson, he wants to try to make the big fancy play, and there's a reason why people loved him coming into this whole draft process and why he was the second quarterback taken, because he just has that look of that fancy boy. He's got that presence.
Yeah, but that's where the coaches have to stand in and bring it and rein him back.
That's what I'm saying. And he said that to him. He said that it's okay to be boring. And to see these rookie quarterbacks, it happens. You're not going to always see years where you're going to see Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert come in and light it up. Some years you're going to have guys like this that are going to take time to struggle.
But I think to stick with this point for one more second is I think all these guys have a possibility of being great. I do believe, Joe, right now that Mac Jones is the one that's playing the best right now. But I also understand that I think if you look at the coaching of where these teams are at and where these players are. Listen, we've talked about this. It's where you go. You talk about Mahomes. He went to the Andy Reid, bro. He didn't play for a year. Went to the Chiefs. They're not no scrubs. Okay, Mac Jones didn't go to a scrub team. Okay, New England had a bad year because of unfortunate things last year, but they're no bums. This is not the Jets. This is not the Giants. Let's realize something. The Jaguars are the Giants. These are laughing stocks. The Bengals have been the laughing stocks forever, and since Boomer Esiason was there in the 80s. What have they won? Nothing.
I still don't love Joe Burrow, by the way.
But Joe Burrow's legit, but they still have flaws on that offensive line. I think listen, you got to protect your young quarterbacks. Trev, we listen to shows to watch. People want Justin Fields to play, and I get it, and I understand, but you want to get him destroyed behind that awful offensive line? If you want to get into it, look at the Steelers. They can't protect Big Ben. I told you about this with the Steelers. They can't protect Big Ben. He's gotten hit the fourth most in the NFL. They can't run the football. I know everyone, you're a fantasy guy. You love Najee Harris. Can't run the football, and it's not him. It's not a lack of talent from the running back position. It's if you can't protect your quarterback, then the coach, you have to protect him. And I think that's what I was trying to get back with the Mac Jones is they have a good offensive line in New England, but they also protect him in the play calling. You don't ask him to hit a home run every time at bat. Just hit a single bunt. Let's move the runner over, and we'll listen. First downs or punts are better than interceptions. You know what I mean? We'll play solid defense and special teams, and we'll win 10-7 and 17-3. And we'll ask you to make a good play. To the bigger thing, unless you have to finish this, Trev, on the rookie thing, was I think Tom Brady's better now than he was 10 years ago. He's better. And this team is better. This team is just flowing right now. Trev, I was trying to find the Instagram or thing you sent me. It was something about Tom Brady. It was like he's had 4 consecutive games of 4 touchdowns in the regular season. His numbers, this offense just seems so much better, so much more smoother. I know the defense is not dominant right now, but that's okay. They'll come to it. Listen, I think when you're scoring 48, 50 points a game, 35, 40 points, you can be a little bit more laxical on Davis. And I think the same way with the Chiefs is you don't have to be great on defense. I told Trevor this yesterday. You don't need a dominant defense if your offense is stellar, spectacular. But you have to be opportunistic. You have to be great in the red zone. And you have to be great on third down defense. If you can keep the offense from the other team below 35% on third down conversions, and in the red zone, they're kicking field goals and you're scoring touchdowns, you're going to win 75% of your games. That if you remember the New England defenses, you could run up and down the field, but inside the 20, you never scored touchdowns. They'd hold you to a field goal, and then Brady would come down, score a touchdown, it'd be 7-3. Next thing you know, it'd be 14-6, and next thing you know, you're down 3 touchdowns, and you're like, all right, game's over. So Tampa Bay is still the best team and is still the most dominant team in football. I will say this, though, to stick with the NFC East and finish on that. After watching all the games, I know the Giants should have won Thursday night. And maybe this is an overstatement, but the Giants look like the worst team in the NFC East right now, overall. They can change that in a week. They can change my perspective. But I look at Philly as – I don't look at Philly as the worst team in the NFC East. I look at Jalen Hurts as a special player. I do.
Joe, what do you got anything else to say before?
Yeah, just to Teddy's point, Trevor Lawrence is hitting 50% of his passes.
Not good.
Obviously, 5 interceptions
he had an
on this
awful
season
week this
already.
week.
He's got 5 picks too. He's got 5 picks too.
He's got 5 picks on the year.
Tied with the lead.
Wilson, who's hitting 55.7% of his passes. Justin Fields hitting 53.3%. And like I said, Mac Jones at 74%. And they're not asking him to do a lot. But again, to just watch this guy in the huddle, he threw they ran a reverse. Bourne went down. He had about a 13-yard run on the play. And Mac Jones sprung a block. And Bourne got up, dude, and just pointed at, just came right at Mac. Like, they love this kid. They love his leadership. And I'm telling you, this kind of accuracy is otherworldly. When he needs to put a ball somewhere, Mac Jones does it. He does it better than anybody. I said last year, I thought he did it better than Trevor Lawrence. I stand by that with about a 24% lead completion percentage-wise over Big T. But anyway, Mac Jones, to me, you're right, Teddy. This is not a bad team. This is a team that had a lot of misfortune last year, a lot of guys out. They look great. Damian Harris, by the way, I don't know why Bill Belichick doesn't want to feed the ball to Damian Harris. He had a 31-yard touchdown run where 7 missed tackles, and he dragged no less than 4 Jets defenders into the end zone with him. Give that guy the football, dude, because I'm telling you, baller, absolute baller.
Well, week 2 is in the books, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a hell of a season so far. We'll see what happens in week 3. We'll be previewing week 3 later in this week. This is the week that the Giants are retiring also Eli's numbers. So that's a big also big game on 4:00 on Sunday. Rams, Tampa Bay.
I think this is your NFC. This is Joe. This is where. 1 second, Trev, before you finish up. Joe, you know how I have been on the Stafford hype train, and he played really well again in week 2 against the Colts. Carson Wentz, you're done. You stink. He's got sprained ankles in both of them. How is that even possible? But, Joe, this is what you bring Stafford in for. This is where he has to really prove it. This will be one of those games that go, are we going to get the Detroit Lion Matthew Stafford, or are we going to get the new Matthew Stafford that you brought in and think is going to take?
We got some big games. We got some big games this week coming up. We got the Chargers versus the Chiefs. We got the Packers going against San Fran, and we also got the big Monday night game, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's a lot of big games this week, and week 3 is almost there. Only 2 more days. One more guy. I trash him a lot. Everybody was giving me gruff for it last year. Justin Herbert, telling you, great numbers every week. Throws for 350. Whenever he gets into the red zone, he gets short-armed, and this team finds ways to lose. This team could very well be 0-2, and I'm telling you, Justin Herbert, not doing it for me yet.
First of all, he should have won that game. First of all, he should have won the game. The refs blew that game.
Okay? Yeah, so should have the Giants, and a lot of teams should have won. This has been happening a lot on Justin Herbert's watch, and he gets nothing but praise. Singing his praises on ESPN this morning. I'm still not sure why.
No, Joe, he's legit. No, if you watch the game, if you watch that game carefully,
other than Mahomes and Josh Allen, I'm not taking another young
listen, if
quarterback.
you're taking a franchise quarterback other than Mahomes, you're taking Josh Allen or Herbert. Herbert is legit. If you watch him, he's running for his life. Micah Parsons was all over him. He's asked to do so much. He's incredible. He makes all the throws you ask. It's just they should have won that game.
Not all of them.
Chargers blew that game, and I just put up the stat on my phone. They're 8-17 since 2019, and
we'll talk about that game. We'll talk
about
all that
in one-score game.
We'll talk about that all later in the week. A huge week coming in the NFL season, and we'll also try to get to some New York Yankees baseball talk as the season is coming to a close.
11 games left.
What will happen with the final 11 games? A lot of big games in baseball as well. You got some playoff baseball. Yankees going to be taking on the Rays, the Jays, or no, the Boston. I think it's the Rays.
Yeah, so right now the Blue Jays are playing the Rays. The Blue Jays lost last night, so we gained that half a game back on the Blue Jays. We're rooting for the Rays. The Red Sox are playing the Mets right now. Okay, the Yankees are playing last night the Rangers. So I watched the game. Big series. A lot of big. You got the Padres and Cardinals. Listen, get into the baseball, bro. You got 12 days left of baseball. Go enjoy it. This is the best time of the baseball season, the final 2 weeks.
I guess Ted just hinted that the Yankees aren't making the playoffs then. So
the Yankees are making the playoffs, bro.
Yeah,
and
I think they're going to put in that wild card game. Maybe Severino will pitch the first inning. Who knows?
Give up 5 runs.
Stop it. No, do me a favor. Just stop it. Don't be a Yankee fan then. Be a Rays fan or something. Be a Miami Marlins.
Hey, real quick.
I don't know anybody else.
I know Justin Herbert's legit. His projected numbers for the rest of the season, 70% completion rate, 5,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, 24 picks.
5,400 yards? Wow, that would be crazy.
Yes. 16 touchdowns, 24 interceptions. Those are his projected numbers.
Yeah, and the guy
ESPN.com.
And Easy Illusory projected to have 34 sacks. So that's what they call projections because he has 2
It's
sacks.
early. I'm just saying. That's the projected numbers.
Joe, would you rather have
a ton of yards.
Joe, would you rather have Daniel Jones or Justin Herbert?
Justin Herbert.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back later in the week to discuss the New York Yankees baseball. And we're going to be trying to get some postseason baseball. Not just going to talk about the Yankees. We're going to talk postseason baseball as well on this show. And we're going to be talking about
back.
Yeah, the Kraken's back. And then we will be talking about the big week 3 action in the NFL. So a lot going on, ladies and gentlemen. We are streaming on all social media platforms. So comment, like, subscribe, share at Keys to the City. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we're unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.